Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now October 2nd of 2023, and given that Disney is going through a very rough time throughout all of 2023, not just because of the Disney stock hitting a very big low, but also because of everything that has been happening with the ongoing drama surrounding Star Wars, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and let's not forget about the Disney parks where there are lower attendees than Disney would have realized back then. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing about Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy is that she really has tainted the Star Wars brand over the years. I think that we can all agree on that, right? It's pretty much universal at this point that the majority of fans dislike the sequel trilogy or have some kind of an issue with Mando Season 3, Book of Boba Fett, and the Kenobi series, alright? Everything else, was actually on a path to going to something successful. I think that Mando Season 1 and 2 had something there. I think that Rogue One was a great movie that could have opened the gateway to other possibilities by Gareth Edwards. But besides that, there's been a lot of misses than hits for Disney Star Wars. Now, looking at Kathleen Kennedy here, this is where matters get even more serious, related to her vision and her perception of the Star Wars fandom, and of course, of the overall George Lucas philosophy and more. So let's discuss, shall we? Now, with Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy going through endless challenges, one major development has to do with Kathleen Kennedy addressing something very specific to the fandom by delivering the following. I just think that our challenge with filmmaking these days is that you have to deal with the noise, and that noise comes from a loud and opinionated minority that comes across as much larger than they really are. I think at the end of the day, it all boils down to a group of fans that are frightened over more projects getting developed that will focus on female leads and or female-centric shows with a female cast. I mean, that's our goal right now, and we can see that this is making the core, loud group of fans very defensive. Sometimes fans like that just need to shut up and keep their opinions to themselves and watch the stories unfold from our talented writers, directors, and actors that really make these stories possible. We have seen great success with Ahsoka, and we expect even greater success with The Acolyte. We have a great show on the horizon such as that for The Acolyte that is going to celebrate everything such as diversity, equality, inclusion, and equity, and we couldn't be more proud. The Acolyte is going to be the beginning of our success with changing and breaking the traditions of Star Wars to embrace the new and what should have been done decades ago. Now, again, guys, you may realize that Kathleen Kennedy is putting it out there and making it very openly clear that she wants nothing to do with the George Lucas vision of Star Wars. This is all about transforming the brand, and her way of justifying this, of the fan criticism at least, of her view of that, is that people are afraid of female-centric shows, which is definitely not the case. I think that if you do it correctly, it's fine. If it comes across naturally, it's fine. We have seen many examples of this done before in the past, where Kathleen Kennedy tends to do this where it's heavily flawed. We know that at the end of the day, Ahsoka is a show where many people either love it or other people really, hate this actual show. I, however, stand on that end of the spectrum. I really am just not impressed with the series. I feel that the dialogue is clunky, it's very slow-paced, and I think that without the nostalgia, this movie, by the way, I feel that the nostalgia is really like serving as the legs of the show. Without Anakin, or without any of those callbacks or anything like that, I don't really know what this show would have going for it. That's just my overall take on things. I mean, there's a lot of plot holes in here. There's a lot of, things that have yet to have been explained, such as what is Baylan Skoll trying to do? We have one episode left, so what's that all about? But moving onwards, alright, I'll get into the specifics about my critiques of Ahsoka in another video, but interestingly enough, Kathleen Kennedy is pulling the minority card again. and really labeling, the loud and opinionated fans, quote unquote, as a small group of people and not the majority. And I think it has become very universal, like I said before earlier in this video, that most people dislike the sequel trilogy, or if they don't like it in its entirety, they at least have some kind of problem with it. And that really is not good for Disney's legacy in the least. So, moving onwards, alright? Further, she goes on to elaborate, if you are a fan just expecting George to be the answer to telling these stories and tales, then those expecting George are close-minded fans that are not open to creativity. To us here at Lucasfilm, it's about creating entertainment and not retelling the past. This is why we felt it was necessary to look back at the expanded universe and retell those stories in a new fashion. This is an idea that Leslie Headland embraced, and I fully stand by that decision and belief of hers. It's a great way to look back at source material and cherry-pick those elements to create new ideas in a smooth manner to create the tales that we need. To the naysayers of Ahsoka series, we feel it will be similar to The Acolyte, and that it's rooted back to the fear of change on focusing on a female-centric show to expand our horizons. That's what we needed to pursue to evolve this brand to do better with our customers. Now, again, guys, this is why I always say I do not like Kathleen Kennedy, is that she is very egotistical. She really just never wants to answer to her past mistakes or take any kind of blame. She always has to point the finger at somebody else or scapegoat or whatever it may be. She has done that before in the past as well. And so when you look at Kathleen Kennedy and her view of the fandom, alright, and what problems they have with a show like Ahsoka and how she just kind of spins that into fear of female-centric shows, and that is just not the overall case at all. That's not the truth. I have labeled my problems with the show multiple times, and I'm sure that some of you guys out there may have missed that. I feel, like I mentioned before, that you can do the whole it's poetry, it rhymes, it's like poetry, it rhymes thing in Star Wars, but I feel that there's also a lot of scenes in here that are also just copying and pasting moments from either the prequels or the originals, to the point where this show is very predictable about what was going to happen and what was not going to happen from time to time. So, look, I mean, we know that Kathleen Kennedy is doubling down on The Acolyte. In fact, Disney is doubling down. They want to do an Acolyte Season 2. This is something that the Disney board is pushing, and we all know who funds Disney. Just to mention a few top 2 shareholders, BlackRock and Vanguard. They're all about that nonsense of DEI, and Kathleen Kennedy said it right there. It's all about celebrating diversity, equity, equality, inclusion, etc., all that hypocritical nonsense that's heavily flawed, and how they are going to throw it into Star Wars and double down with that agenda. So that's why I think that The Acolyte will fail. So overall, guys, drop a comment below. Fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. From night to moon, we hear them moans again.